Oh my goodness. This does not look very straight. Alright, hold it. Ooh. I think it's working. Let me just... Jake! Can you go downstairs and see if this looks okay?
Let me go downstairs.
You're not even subscribed to my channel.
I have like 8 YouTube accounts.
Okay. Why do you have so many YouTube
I
accounts?
don't know.
You can watch downstairs. And just keep a track of chat. That's my overhead. Why is this? Yeah, hold on a second. Overhead. Properties. He's doing that weird. I hate that shit. Alright, there we go. Yeah. Oh, how cool is that? I didn't even know that. Thanks, Geraldine. Okay. before this computer takes a complete crap. Okay. My husband here. So, a little bit about this film, and I know that I've gotten quite a rough start here, but a little bit about this film. Amy, kind of put that to the side there, okay. So this movie has been in the works for quite a bit, and I think, that was like definitely one of the things that Claire had wanted to document was that journey of going through transplant, double lung transplant. And, some of us are, either headed that way or have already been through that journey ourselves, and we have a little more insight than other people would, right? Especially here in the CF community, we always are hearing about somebody that's being listed or somebody that's waiting for new lungs, and part of the problem as we get older and into our adulthood. Now, I turned 45 on the 21st, and I'm a rarity, okay? Most of us with cystic fibrosis do not live a very long life. So, that's something that we're born into. It is something that we, inherently have in the back of our minds all the time from the moment we take our first breath to the last. And, we have to live with that. We have to kind of make and have a relationship with death that, most healthy people don't have. And Claire, how she started it, she did have a relationship with death, and she speaks about that in this documentary. And she talks about, how she took that and made it something beautiful. And, I find that her entire life, she really did do just that. I first ran into Claire when she was like 15, and I think the first video that I ever saw her in was her first glow ride in Santa Monica Pier. And she was like 15 or 16, I think she was 15. And Melissa might chime in on that. But, that was the first moment I had ever seen another person that had cystic fibrosis like me. When I was younger, we had CF camp, and we had, we had summer camp and things like that, because when I was younger, we didn't know very much about the genetics of it, and we didn't know very much about CF in general, and we didn't know about cross-contamination, and we didn't know about all the things that can happen. Luckily, I was one of those kids that actually really enjoyed summer camp with other CFers and never really caught anything from them. So I was lucky that way. But today, there are very strict protocols around, us being even in the same room. And that has made this illness very isolative. You are, isolated from other people who could understand you. You don't get to meet them. You don't get to talk to them. You don't get to do anything. So when I ran into Claire, I must have been like 38. No, yeah, something like that, like 38, 39. And I had just started to see a large decline. The majority of my life, I had been pretty healthy, at least by CF standards. I was a professional ice skater, and I think that actually had a lot to do with how well my lungs did. Was just that high level of activity for so long really kept my lungs quite clear, quite good. I had amazing lung function. My PFTs were like off the charts for CFers for a long time, and it wasn't until like my late 20s, early 30s that I started to really see a drastic change. And my PFTs would plummet, and I think the lowest had been in Florida was 42%. So currently I'm at 58%, and that fluctuates up and down, but my baseline is really more around 70. There's some things going on right now. I have Pseudomonas infection and all that kind of stuff, and I'm on Toby, and that tends to kind of fluctuate your PFT numbers up and down quite a bit. And it usually isn't until after a week has gone by of being off, your heavy class antibiotics, that you actually really start seeing that number get back to its normal baseline, right? Or whatever baseline it is for you. But I did a lot with my life, and I think that was one of the things that Claire really appreciated about my story and my life is just, I never let CF tell me no. My father also raised me that way. My mother raised me that way. You never let your illness tell you no, you can't do something. You find ways to work around it or work with it. And I think it's something that, once I got to know Claire and I started to like DM her on Twitter and so on and so forth, and we actually got to talk a little bit, I think it was one of the things that she most admired about me was just how much and how far I had pushed myself, when I was thriving, and those were the stories that really caught her attention. She wanted to learn how in the world I became an Egyptologist. She found that fascinating. She wanted to know, about skating and doing the competitions and things like that. And she just was a very curious person about people in general. I loved that about her. And I think it's something that we need more of that in this world. There needs to be a curiosity about other people and how we can enrich their lives, and not, hinder it. And I struggled with that myself. Some of the things I'm going through right now have really pushed me wide open into some of my own mental health issues that I have had for quite a long time. I have a severe sense of abandonment from the death of my family. I've pretty much lost every single one of my family members except my sister. And, I also lost my first husband of 22 years. In a horrible, tragic car accident. So, I've been dealing with loss and death and grief and all that for as long as I can remember, from the time that I was 5 years old. My family suffered a tragic event when I was 5 that took the life of both my brothers. One of those brothers had cystic fibrosis, and he was on a double lung and liver transplant list, which in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, was unheard of, and pretty much non-existent. That they wouldn't do that today, right? Today, if they do what's called a multivisceral organ donation, it's from one donor. You get the lungs, you get the liver, and all from the same exact donor. Back then, they didn't have that luxury. You had to be on 2 different wait lists, and whichever one came first, and my brother had been on the list for like 2.5 years. Like, the list back then was like, the wait list was extraordinary. Like you guys would fall over. It's like a 5-year wait list back then. So, I was born into this family that already had a CF child, and my brother was misdiagnosed most of his life, so he was really sick. Like, he got really sick real quick. And, you know, I grew up watching him, and he was the only example I had of what CF looked like until I met Claire. And she's forever changed my outlook on life, my, you know, what I want to do with my life, what focus and direction I want to take my life in. She has altered all those things for me, and she's just incredibly important to my life. And to have the honor of showing this documentary, and it's playing directly from her channel, so I definitely encourage everybody to go to her channel. I will have links for all of that in the description down below. But, you know, definitely subscribe to her channel. Definitely subscribe to her foundation's channel. And then my own, you know, I credit her, and I credit also Mary Fry from the Fry Life as the two most influential and inspirational people, you know, that I could relate to as a sister, right? That have altered the course of my life, of how I view my illness and how I live and walk with my illness. And, you know, Mary, my inspiration from her comes from just how she walks with the Lord, and she walks with her faith. And she really just puts it all in God's hands. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch. And I am forever indebted to Claire and Mary for them sharing their stories. I would not have come out, or I would not be in the process of making Appreciate Every Breath Foundation and helping other adults like me, you know, go into adulthood and learn how to manage mental health issues, and learn how to manage career development, and learn how to manage, you know, all these things that, you know, we have never really looked forward to. And now things are changing in our CF world, and things are looking up. And now we have to start thinking about that. And we do have to start thinking about how we're going to support ourselves, how we're going to maintain ourselves, our family, our marriages, our children, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. We have that opportunity within our reach. And it is very important to start thinking about those things in our adulthood. And that's what I want to focus on, and help adults with CF. So without further ado, let's go ahead and watch this together. I'm just going to push play, and we are going to go full screen. Can we not hear? I guess not. Whoops. Hold on.
What kind of life is that? What are we pretty much telling people who are sick? All that they can amount to.
Let's start that over.
Right there.
I have a question for you guys. And I mean, maybe you already said this in the thing, but
Down a little to your left. Right there. Right there.
I have a question for you guys. And I mean, maybe you already said this in the thing, but what was it about when you first interviewed me that made you want to do a whole thing on me? So when I was a kid, you always get asked like who your role models are. And I realized that there was no one that looked like me. There was no one really that was sick, that was a role model to me, that was doing something that was bigger than just their illness, right? The only thing I saw of people who were sick was St. Jude's commercials, you know, of little bald kids on the camera, like smiling and saying, give to the cause. That was it. What kind of life is that? What are we pretty much telling people who are sick? All that they can amount to is some, you know, charity spokesperson, right? It's dehumanizing. The truth is, people who are sick, people who have suffered, have something beautiful to give to the world. So for me, it's really important to see people who are sick, who are thriving. Right? It's important to have people who are sick, who are actually living full lives, so that kids like me, so that little Claire doesn't have to feel like all there is in the world is being someone's pity case. You know, that there's a life for her to live, and that it's going to be wonderful. So I'm dying. Faster than everyone else. My name is Claire Wineland, and I've never really lived a normal life.
Okay, so, no, I can't take myself seriously enough. Probably you're wondering, why am I in the hospital? I have CF, cystic fibrosis.
I was born with cystic fibrosis, so I was diagnosed at birth. Cystic fibrosis is terminal, and it is very much going to kill me. Hairball. It is a genetic disease that causes an overload of mucus to accumulate in your body, which is disgusting. So it slowly causes your organs to malfunction and fail. When I was born, my life expectancy was 10 years old. And then it moved to 13, then it moved to 16, and then 19, and now it's in 20s somewhere. Who knows, maybe 25. I'm hoping we get past 21. Like, I just wanna go clubbing once. Like, that's it. I don't ask for much in life. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. What happens is when you get to be a teenager with CF, you start losing all will to function, because all you have been doing with your time is taking care of yourself. It's hours and hours and hours every single day of treatments. So I do my vest, do my nebulizers, count out my pills, take my pills, cut the pills that need cutting, check my blood sugar, load up my insulin, do another set of treatment, do another set of puffers, do another set of pills, then do my breathing, then do my working out, then take a nap because I'm exhausted at that point, then wake up, then do another set of treatments.
This is when it's really fun to start singing.
Then eat a tremendous amount because I have to eat around 5,000 calories in a day or else I turn into a skeleton. And pretty much that's the routine for the entire day.
I'm back in the hospital.
And I'm making this video from the hospital.
I have been thrown in here for another couple of days.
I've had 35 surgeries. I've spent a quarter of my life in the hospital. It's a very high maintenance disease. And you start to feel like you are not a part of the world, like you have nothing to give, like you're just a machine that is taking care of itself. Is my mic on? I don't know if my mic's on. Yeah? Hi. Am I good? Is my mic? Oh, there it is. I'm actually not here to depress you all about cystic fibrosis. I'm actually here to talk about how do we change the way that we treat sick people? How do we stop pitying them and we start empowering them? Every few months or so, or less, I was in the hospital for a period of weeks, sometimes up to a month by myself. Both my parents worked full time and were trying to be able to kind of stay afloat, and so they couldn't come and visit me all the time. So they'd send like friends of theirs or people that they knew from the program or stuff like that. And they would walk in and there would just be this tremendous feeling of like pity that would enter the room, and like they would tiptoe in, you know what I mean? And like slowly sit down on a chair and like give me a look of like, how you doing? Meanwhile, I was having the time of my life. I would get to get plucked out of school, plucked away from tests and school drama. I was put in my little bubble. I decorated my room, lounging on my lounge area. I was okay. I was good. I was happy. I was going in the right direction, and I didn't understand why everyone felt so sorry for me all the time. I have lived the kind of life that all of you spend your entire lives running from. I've been sick and dying my entire life, and yet I am so proud of my life. That's how innovation happens. Innovation doesn't happen because there's some person who's in a great circumstance and everything's going well and and they just get on a roll and they make something for the world. Innovation happens, art happens because of suffering. And when we clamp down to that suffering, when we teach people who are sick, when you teach little 7-year-old me that because I'm sick, I don't have anything to give to the world, I don't have anything to create, when you pity people who are sick, you take away their power.
Hi guys, it's Kirby. Welcome back to Pretty Unfiltered. Today's guest is Claire Wineland. You know her because she has her own YouTube channel. I love her channel because she brings a reality to people living with cystic fibrosis. A lot of times people are scared to talk about it to people that are living with it, and she just puts it out there, and she's really funny.
Just how is this even possible?
I pretty much want to break down some of the barriers that we tend to have with people who are sick. They're not these other thing. They are a part of our world, and we live complex and interesting lives. So if you have any more questions,
If anyone has any questions,
if you all have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and I will make fun and interesting videos on them. I can't wait to hear from you guys.
are you filming?
My main mission in life, I think, is to dignify people who are sick and to inspire them to actually live their lives fully while they're sick and not wait around for someone else to come and fix them before they're who they need to be. Because you have to have a deep pride in your experience of life, in all of it, in the messiness and the beautiful parts of it. You have to have a pride in what you've been through, and you have to actually function in the world. You have to be something in the world. And by doing that, you have enough motivation to take care of yourself. Sorry. Bad allergies today. Okay, I'm gonna start at the beginning of the sentence. By actually wanting to be a part of the world and by having something to give to the world, you automatically inspire yourself to take care of yourself because you have something bigger that you're living for. The cure to illness isn't actually anything to do with being healthy, right? Fixing yourself when you're sick has nothing to do with being healthy or fixing your body. Fundamentally, what it has to do with is fixing the way that you view your part in society and in the world.
Can I get a big smile? All right.
We're all just trying to not feel so alone and to feel like we have something that is worth giving. And people will see that. And people won't see you, they won't see your sickness, they won't see how you can't fall short of this standard. They'll only see what you're giving. And that has been the only way that I've gotten through. That's what's kind of led me to do everything that I've done.
Okay, sorry, focusing. This is my song. It's called Galaxies, and I hope you all enjoy. My thoughts are stars I cannot fathom into constellations. My mind's a map that has lost its destination.
The truth of the matter is, I am not someone who has necessarily suffered more than you, and I don't know what your story is. I don't know who, I don't know what you've been through in life, but we fundamentally feel the exact same thing as human beings.
And I'm broken, but I'm fixable, and that's the worst kind, 'cause it means that the fault is on me.
You learn a lot from being sad, and you learn a lot from having life kind of beat you up. You learn how to actually give something that's valuable. So in times when life feels like it's too much, it's a really, really good time to realize that we all feel that way. And that the pain and the sadness and the moments, the lulls, like the lulls in your day, are actually the time when I think you're most deeply connected to the rest of humanity.
I'm not bad. I'm broken, but I'm fixable. And that's the worst kind. 'Cause it means that the fault is on me. I did it!
There's this notion that we go through life with that if we are just better, you know what I mean? If we just do more, if we just fix ourselves more, if we become better people, if we get healthy, right? Like that was what I always heard from the doctors. There was this never-ending conversation of once you're healthy, then you can live your life. Once you're healthy, then you'll be happy. Once you're healthy, then you'll be okay. And we all go through life with that. That's not just sick people, that's all of us. Like once we're rich, we'll be okay. Once we are in love, we'll be okay. Once we have a family, we'll be okay. Health itself is never going to make your life better. But for some reason, people don't want to frame it that way. Like if I was to sit here and say, money doesn't equal happiness, it's what you do with the money, you'd be like, yeah, completely. But if I was to say, you know, being healthy doesn't matter, it's what you do with the health, people don't like hearing that necessarily. And that took me a very long time to realize because I was always trying to get convinced to do the next best thing, to do a lung transplant, to do this procedure, to do this experimental thing, which were all really damaging to my quality of life. You're kind of prepped for lung transplant. From the time you're a teenager onwards, you're like prepared for getting new lungs, which the embarrassing thing is I've been evaluated 3 times for a lung transplant. And 2 of those times, when push came to shove and they were like, so do you want it? I was like, nope. And I left them. And for years I had like this stupid list of medical reasons as to why I don't want a transplant. And that's obviously not the reason. I mean, I've been through enough painful medical procedures already. But what scared me was how much pressure a lung transplant was to do something of value, because that's someone else's lungs. Or that's someone who died and is giving you a chance to actually do something. And I think that is a very interesting, nuance for me, because I've always fundamentally believed that health doesn't mean anything unless you're actually doing something with it. Most people go through life with the assumption that they are going to live into their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s. I never had that assumption, right? Like it was always very deeply ingrained in my consciousness that I wasn't gonna live past the age of late teens, early 20s. Today I have a special guest with me. This is my lovely mother. How do you cope with the thought of me dying? Let's get serious.
Wow.
You're on, sorry. No pressure.
Wow, it's funny. That has transitioned over the years. I think right when you were a baby, all I could think about was, what if she dies? It's a good question.
When I was 13, I nearly died. And I did technically die, but I came back, so it doesn't count, I don't think.
Ready?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I went in for a routine surgery, and I got a blood infection afterwards, and I didn't know. And so it was around 2 days after the surgery, and all of a sudden I spiked a fever, and my oxygen saturation started to drop. And so then I started to feel it, and I'm like, hey, I can't breathe. And around an hour later, I went into full-blown lung failure. When you have CF, you have to have a close relationship to death. I deeply did not fear it. I remember for the first 3 hours, it was really weird because I had this sudden like epiphany. I was like, I'm dying. Like this is, like I'm in lung failure. This is my progression into death. I was like, it's fine, I'm prepared for this. Because I had prepared my entire life for this. And then 4 hours into it, it stopped being funny, and it stopped being cute, and it stopped being interesting. And it started to be terrifying. Couldn't breathe. And I was literally suffocating while awake. I didn't want to be knocked out or unconscious because I thought that if I wasn't conscious, I wouldn't be able to have any kind of control over myself. When my mom was there, and I was looking at her and I was like, I'm not okay, am I? And she's like, not okay. But it was like this wave of terror washed over me. And I was mad at myself for being scared. And I was like, you know, you're being dumb, like it's death, it's okay. It's like you knew this was coming. And after the terror, like, left, there was this grief, you know? Like I grieved how much potential there was in me and how much of that I didn't utilize in the time that I had. And I grieved it. It wasn't fear. It wasn't like, oh God, I don't want to die. It was like, wow, there is so much that a human being is capable of doing, you know, and I won't be able to do that. And then, because they put me in a medically induced coma, and 3 weeks later, I came out of it, and I couldn't move, I couldn't sit up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't hold a fork. And in those months, that's when I created the foundation.
Hey, this is me, Claire. As you know, we are starting Claire's Place Foundation, which is going to be basically to help other children and families with CF.
The foundation came to me at a time where I was the sickest and the weakest and the most confused that I think I've ever been in my entire life.
That's so wonderful.
I realized that I'd spent so much of my life trying to pretend that I wasn't sick and pretend that I hadn't gone through this crazy, you know, different experience of life from everyone else. And I realized that where my power really lied is in the fact that I had gone through all of this painful stuff at such a young age, and I understood how incredibly important life was. For me, what purpose really meant was changing the conversation around someone who's sick, where they have to wait and wait and wait until the day that they're healthy before they do anything, to this notion that I could be exactly who I was in the moment, with all of my mess-ups and my failures and my pain and my complications, that I could be a sick person and still have something to give, still have a life worth living. And so in the months that I was recovering, I started to notice how many gaps there were in support for families whose kids were really sick in the hospital. When you're a parent of a CFer and your kid is dying, you want to be able to be there with them. But a lot of these parents don't have the support that they need to be able to be there with them. They have to go to work. They have to be able to pay their bills. They have to pay their car payments. I started to kind of see this need in the sick people community for some kind of financial support for when families are with their kids. And ever since the time I was a kid, and I think everyone has this experience, you're taught that someone else is going to do it, that there's someone else that knows more than you, that there's someone else that can do this better, that you're not there yet, you're not ready yet. And I realized that I can't spend my entire life waiting for someone to give me permission to live a life that I'm proud of. So I founded the Claire's Place Foundation.
So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Claire Wineland.
It's really an honor to be here, and I'm trying to start a foundation and trying to give back. I was terrified for the first 4 years. We had no idea what we were doing, and I was only 13, and no one took me seriously, and I think that forced me to grow so much as a person. But it was amazing that once I started taking steps in the direction that I wanted to go, new opportunities popped up and more doors opened, and I made new connections, and it was insane.
Hi, I'm Joe Manganiello. This is my friend Claire Wineland. Hey, Claire.
I always had this image of like when you find your passion and your moment, like it's epic, and it never is. It's small, every single day decisions to show up and apply yourself. And that's what makes the most, impact in what you're doing in your life is small, everyday decisions to show up. Now, 7 years later, I'm looking back on it and thinking about how incredibly blessed I am that I've gotten to do what I love for 7 years and help as many people as I have. It's amazing what a little bit of financial support can do to families so that they can be there with their kids and help them heal and not have to worry about possibly losing their home and their child. And it all came from just running ahead through being terrified, and so I'm very lucky that I get to do what I do. We've been able to help so many families, and so I thank all of you for your support. Thank you all for being here. Hey everyone, it's Claire. Recently I've been getting sick and I haven't been able to get better, and it's taken a lot more to make me healthy again. That's never fun. Yeah, I'll make another video eventually, and I love you all, and thank you so much for your support as always. Bye! I heard it growing up all the time, that there will become a point where you just stop being able to get better at all. And it will be fast, and it'll be like a blink of an eye, and then all of a sudden you're like on your deathbed. And I heard that from other CFers too, and I knew it. I understood it in a very logistical sense. But I didn't understand what that would mean for the actual quality of my life. And I didn't understand what that would mean for how that would affect, what I wanted to do with my time while I was here. The truth is I have maybe a year and a half left. So last year, my lung function was around 35%, and now it's around 28 to 25%. So that means it's dropped 10% in a year. If things keep going the way they're going, I'll either be dead or I'll be bedridden or kind of incapable of doing much with myself. It's hard having your lungs fail. And it's hard having spent your entire life taking care of yourself and feeling that not work. And I've never wanted to lie to people and say that it's easy or that it's not really, really scary and really painful, because it is. And I always hate going into the cliche of it makes you feel how precious life is. But having to feel yourself die again and again and again, it makes you realize that there is so much potential in being alive that we just never tap into. Hello. This is my third time trying to record this video, and I just feel like I can't seem to do it because I don't want to on such a deep level. I don't want to make this video. It's like it hurts everything inside of me to have to make this video. I'm really lucky that I've gotten to have the life that I've had and work as hard as I have and make something of myself that's more than just a sick person. And then this year I lost that ability, I couldn't work. I've never felt more embarrassed in my entire life. And I think that there comes a point when you realize that if you're right, if you really think you have something to give in the world, then you have to do everything you can to put yourself in a position where you're able to give it. I mean, I can't give anything when I'm like this and when I'm this sick, and I can't give anything until I get lungs. So, with all of that being said, and me being just horrendously depressing, I have a GoFundMe, and I need new lungs. I don't make any money on the foundation. I never have, and I don't ever want to. But I can't work, and you need tons of money to be able to get through a transplant. I want to promise everyone, just because I want to promise it to myself, that I'm not getting these lungs just to be healthy. I don't care about that. I'm getting these lungs so that I can do something for everyone, so I can give something that the world needs. I don't know, so that I can help people. And it's stupid. Oh, it's stupid. I sound like such a... No, this video is just gonna be crying my eyes out. There's so much more I want to do. It really is, and that's so depressing to say. Like it's. But in order to do that, I need help, and I need support, and I can't do it by myself. So here I am. And I didn't realize how much of my life I sort of felt protected by being sick. I felt protected in a weird sort of way because it was like a get out of jail free card, right? Like if I didn't do anything that great, or I didn't give enough, or I didn't do anything that would really make me feel proud, it was okay, because I have an excuse. I was sick. And at the end of the day, like that's why I kept saying no to transplant, and that's why I kept saying no to being healthy, is because I was safe being sick. And the thing is, I think that, as I'm saying this, because I know a lot of people don't relate to that, you know, like a lot of people aren't already dying, so they're not like, you know, they don't relate to it, but I think that what people do relate to is playing it safe. And I think people do relate to the fact that it's easier to say that we're not doing incredible things because of situations in our life. It's easy to do that. It's hard to say maybe the reason I'm not the person that I want to be is because I'm not really giving anything of value of myself to the world right now. Like maybe the reason I'm not the person I want to be is because right now, in this moment, I'm not doing what I should be doing. I feel like choosing to get a lung transplant for me means choosing to experience a lot of pain and trusting that you're gonna do something worthwhile with it. And I don't think I've trusted myself for a long time, but I'm starting to. I started sobbing when I started seeing the donations that were coming. There was all like $5, $10 donations. That we got to $200,000 with $10 donations is just mind-boggling to me. I don't have any words really to say how grateful I am. Like there's no way to describe it. Like it can't just, it's like it's way more than can be put into a video of like, thanks for donating, guys, it's great. Like, you don't know. You have no idea what you did for us. How much you changed. Not just like what I can do, but you also took such a huge weight off of me that I just don't even know how to repay you. So, I guess let's do this. It's 5:30 in the morning and I just got the call for new lungs. I'm literally just running around. I don't even know what to do. It's not even like, like I would think there'd be more nerves, but I literally just don't know what to do. What is one supposed to do? What do you bring to an event where you get new lungs? What are you supposed to pack? You know? Do I bring a nice pair of clothes? Like, I don't know. Okay. It's recording already.
Oh, shit. Okay, wait, ready? Okay, go.
You're fine.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
We got the call at 5:30 a.m. We're heading to UCSD. Ooh, that's a bad angle.
To pretend my life will never end, and flowers never bend.
I feel like most of us go our entire lives with never really meeting ourselves. Like most of us will go our entire life with never really understanding or knowing who we fundamentally are. If I didn't have a relationship to death, really, and to what that actually looks like, what kind of person would I have been? You know what I mean? And what kind of person would I be? And that is very scary because I think everything good in my life has come from my sickness. And that's a terrifying thing to admit to someone, you know, because then what else is there? I think what it is that you can spend your entire life running away from yourself and running away from your own suffering if you blame it on circumstance. It's hard to blatantly sit here and say, I don't want to be healthy, because obviously I do. I want to be able to live and I want to be able to experience things and have the energy to do things again, you know, like it would be beautiful. But there is a really fine line between wanting something because of what you can give with that thing versus wanting it because you think it's going to make life better.
Careful over that. All right.
You a hug? One sec, can I?
All right, we're gonna take great things.
I love you, Angel. So much. So proud of you.
She's in good hands.
On the other side, on the other side.
You're in good hands. Go with the angels. All right.
Surgery went perfectly. Surgeons came out, were like, everything went great. The lungs are beautiful. Like, we've never seen such a beautiful pair of lungs. And her cheeks had started to get rosy from the oxygen flowing, and we were so excited. It was a really beautiful experience until she had a complication of surgery, which was a stroke. She never came out of the anesthesia from the original surgery, so she didn't feel any pain. And we really were so expecting it to go great. She'd always been a beater of the odds. Many times in her life it was very dire, and she would just, you know, come through. So I expected that to happen again. Her father and I were in the room with her. And then we held her and said our goodbyes. And I just think Claire had this sense of larger than life perspective on life. We heard a lot of messages from people all around the world. Even people maybe without disabilities per se, but with maybe depression or feeling separated from the world. They identified with her message of, you know, we're all in this together, you know. You got to make something beautiful of your life.
Claire Wineland passed away. She was 21.
I felt like I knew her through her social media and all that. I randomly found her YouTube.
Everyone who listened to her speak be inspired by it and listen.
She gives me a sense of peace in myself.
And she reminded me every time I watched that video, like, that is me. I think she did that to millions of people.
She always wanted to, which is to make a difference in this world.
We all loved you so much.
It's crazy, you know what I'm saying?
I found her story, I just felt so inspired by it.
I'm gonna miss you.
I think she touched a lot of people with that message. So I'm very proud of her.
Ladies and gentlemen, Claire Wineland.
Hi, it's Claire. Hi, this is Claire. Hi, my name is Claire Wineland, and I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I like to stay positive.
I think I was given CF so that people would hear me. I'm kind of like a moving, walking slap in the face for people. And, you know,
CF is my life, and I've learned how to make it awesome.
You can be creative with your mind and your body. Have your fill of fun.
I got to do so much awesome things I never thought I could do. I was taking my experience and I was giving something. I was doing something. I was living a life that I was proud of. When I was a kid, there was no one that looked like me. There was no one really that was sick, that was a role model to me. And then I realized that I became the person that little me would have been inspired by. So I want to encourage you all.
Instead of wanting to be in the future and wanting to do something good in the future, do something now.
Maybe for once we should stop trying to get over our problems, trying to get rid of our problems, trying to jump through hoops to evade our problems. Maybe we should start using them, because they're one of the biggest gifts you will ever be given.
You just have to have the courage.
And that is very empowering. So let's just live in the moment.
You know, we'll see where it goes from here.
Well, I'm actually going to say goodbye for now. Really, I am so grateful to everybody who was there for me. I'm sad to go, but it is what it is, and we'd have to leave anyway, eventually, so.
If you take anything from my little talk, it's to cherish every second and make the best out of what you have.
Stick to your dreams and they will come true.
Try and find the things in your life that make you happy to be there at the moment.
And you can really face anything.
Just try, you know? That's all I ask.
I'm gonna drop some wisdom on your head right now. Or I'm gonna drop my notebook. A little bit of both.
Okay, so this is Claire's first driving experience. Go ahead, sweetie. Just head up the ramp and turn it to the... Okay. That's okay.
Oh, what? I cannot be trusted with camera.
So I'm sure you are wondering why the heck I'm hanging upside down. I love coffee. It's my favorite.
Wow! Get down the now. Ooh! Get down the now. Ooh! I've had that stuck in my head like all day. Whee! Whoa! Almost just fell off the spinny chair. Do your best impression of me.
Okay, hi, I'm Claire. I love everyone. I'm so sweet and I'm a social butterfly and I cough a lot. Okay, there you go. That's my impression.
If you would love to give support and help us do what we do, you can go to clairespacefoundation.org and donate anything you can.
as you guys all know, we have to consume quite a lot of calories per day. So I eat like every 2-3 hours. Anyways, what a story. What an amazing human being. And what an inspiration to us all to like just build something of what we have, of what we got, and make something beautiful of our lives. And whether we have 5 years or 50 years, that's our time. That's what we have. So make something beautiful of it. Thank you, Claire, so much for everything you've done for this community. Thank you to your mother, your father, Milsa Yeager, and John Wineland for sharing you with the rest of this world. They were blessed. So, thank you. See you guys later.